Guests on Keel heard via the Jack Spring Electric Keel Newsmaker hotline. The latest of those, Shreveport City Councilwoman LeVette Fuller is here. Hey, Miss LeVette, happy Monday. Welcome back to Keel. How you doing today?
I'm all right. How are you?
Well, what do you expect today? The discussion over Henry Whitehorn to be confirmed as Shreveport's chief administrative officer will begin. What do you see on the docket?
Actually, discussion began 2 weeks ago when he came in and spoke on the record at the meeting. But we do have that today. We have the annexation thing will be up, and also we're going to be looking at that contract with the recycling. But I don't know. I don't know how much conversation there will be about Chief Whitehorn, other than that he's already working. Right? Isn't that kind of the thing that's got everybody going, wait, what's going on here?
Pardon me, that sort of freaked
that was
Erin
new
out.
For me.
Erin comes back, she says, so what's new? I said, well, the Henry Whitehorn thing. She says, what? She was gone, didn't know about it, and I explained. We had Mr. Grayson, Butcher, on last week. He said the city council was sort of taken aback by that. What do you think? What are your feelings about Whitehorn as chief of staff in the interim at full CAO salary?
Well, it's a little weird. I'll say I get wanting to get him in for a transition period, but I also think that it might have been just as good to kind of wait. And, you know, part of it might be the finance director position with Sharika and trying to smooth all that out and get her working over there as quickly as possible. But it does seem like maybe just for good faith to wait for the confirmation to go through before you start moving pieces around.
You're a yes vote on Whitehorn?
I am.
Why? What are the qualities that you see in him that will work as CAO for Shreveport?
Look, it's not even so much. I think we all have, you know, who we say, well, if it were me doing it, I would do blah, blah, blah. But this is not my Barbie castle, my Barbie dream house. So that's not what matters. What matters is that this man has credentials. He's been appointed by governors and presidents to do different work. He has served in a lot of different ways, always as a leader. And our last CAO had similar qualities and a similar resume. Maybe a difference of having an MBA. I don't think that Mr. Whitehorn has that. So if the reason that we're looking at this guy and saying maybe he's not the right guy is because of his associations with people that others just don't get a good feeling about, I don't know if that should be a part of the assessment.
That a lot of people, we're not saying it, but a lot of people say he admitted it before y'all. He is close friends with Lynne Braggs.
Yeah.
Lynne Braggs has been accused of having, puppet strings over mayors in the past, and we've all heard that. Is that a concern to you at all?
Listen, you can have connections to a lot of different people and still be your own person. And I think that's the kind of thing that's going to need to be tested. I don't know that a person who's been considered a bad actor because he's had whatever that we don't have a lot of evidence of. See, this is the thing. If you can prove that this person has done whatever and is terrible, okay, that's one thing. And has he been convicted of anything? Can you tell me one thing that Lynne Braggs has been investigated and convicted of?
No.
And there's, we've watched enough TV to realize that things can be bigger than that. I get that too. But in front of us in the here and now, right now, you can't tell me that it's fair to condemn a man with Whitehorn's reputation and credentials based on his association with that person.
Do you think it's unfair to say that a lot of the votes that might go against Whitehorn aren't so much against Whitehorn and or his resume, but against the mayor?
I don't think that I want to speak for why anybody else votes the way that they do. I can tell you that the right reason to vote against this person would be, one, not being sure if you think that they're going to have the kind of relationship with the mayor that moves the city forward. Two, you don't think they have the credentials to manage a city. And that should be a big one. But based on past performance of other people with similar resumes, that would be the reason to say that. Do you think that those people should have done a much better job than they did, and that they were the wrong people based on their leadership and their credentials? Then maybe you've got a case. But the reasons to vote on this particular person need to be about their resume, their ability, their integrity, and quite frankly, who do you think he's going to pick if he doesn't pick Whitehorn? I think that comes into play as well.
If theoretically the Whitehorn confirmation is defeated tomorrow, what do you think the mayor might do then? I mean, he's got a chief of staff. Is there a chance that he might say, well, you know what? I want to keep Henry Whitehorn chief of staff, and I think $160,000 is a great number.
And we won't have a CAO.
I think that what matters isn't any prediction that I could try to make, because that's playing into drama. What we've all got to start doing, and I've said this to y'all before, is we need to keep swimming in the facts. What matters isn't what he might do, because we're not in his brain. We don't know. What matters is, what does the charter say, and what can we interpret within the charter that protects the city from things that he might want to do that may or may not seem goofy to us.
Now, Ms. Sharika needs to be confirmed as Chief Financial Officer also. Am I correct?
This is correct.
Now, is there a difference in your mind between this sort of created office of Chief Financial Officer and the actual Department of Finance or Finance Department boss that already exists? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I think it is a little different. I know the charter requires us to have a finance director. I think that she would be doing a finance director plus.
So pardon me a second, what's the process of approving a finance director as opposed to this CFO? I assume there's a difference, or is there?
Well,
and is that going to be designated by the mayor?
I think that we still have some questions there. I think some of this has come up in the meeting. I know one thing that has been questioned is whether or not having your finance person as a direct report to the mayor is something that we could or can or should do. And I think all of that plays into, are we going to have a CFO and a finance director? How many employees are we going to have up there, and who's going to be doing what? Like, what lane is everyone? I think those are things that we're going to need to discuss probably in more detail today and tomorrow.
Does the possibility exist that in, say, 48 hours or so, the city of Shreveport could have a chief of staff appointed by the mayor and not have a CAO, and a chief financial officer appointed by the mayor, but no director of finance?
I think that there is some possibility that the votes could go in such a way that that happens. But also, remember what I said. If that happens, what does the charter say, and how do we move from there?
That's kind of.
I think that's the most important thing. Is we are going to have to make sure that everything that happens is within the realm of what's allowed by charter.
Well, when you say you mean the mayor also, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, all of us. We're all in this together. Oh, great. Now I've got like a High School Musical earworm. I hate when that happens.
Okay, let me ask you one silly question, because I said it on the air, and I want to see if you agree or disagree.
You've been silly enough today. All your exploits from last week.
Yeah, boy. I'm glad there was no video. Just the mayor appointing Mr. Whitehorn, and I have the utmost respect for Mr. Whitehorn. Let me just tell you that going in. Appointing him as chief of staff, was that kind of the mayor flicking you guys on the council on the nose?
Why would you think that?
I'm gonna do it regardless of what you guys say. I'm gonna do it however I want to do it. And even if you vote him no, he's still going to be here. You're going to have to get you. I would like to see more of a working together. Maybe him waiting until after this vote tomorrow and then saying, you know, guys, I really want him. He's going to be my chief of staff. I know you voted no on CAO, but here's, you know, you follow me. It's kind of like, I'm going to do it anyway. GTH for you.
I think that I'm going to answer your question another question.
Okay.
What does it do? What is helpful? How is it helpful for me to even consider that?
I completely understand your point. I really do. I I keep thinking to myself, LeVette, and I said this earlier, that this town elected this man based on what we know about him, his story, his West Point, his Harvard, his military service. And I feel like people are shouting, going, we're not getting what we were sold. Do you see? Do you see that? And this is just another one of those little chipping away at what we were sold.
I think we are better served by looking at how we are protected from anything within the realm of our charter, within the realm of ethics, and taking whatever disappointments you might be feeling or whatever assumptions you might be making. And I think we're better served by taking it to the street. If you've got issues with the way things are being done, and I've been getting a lot of emails. Someone emailed me and said, I think that Whitehorn getting $160,000 because part of that is his benefits. He's declined the benefits. Mm-hmm. And they said they feel that undermines the retirement system, and that's something we need to consider. You know, there are a lot of people out here in this community who have various experiences and are intelligent and have not necessarily always been vocal and haven't wanted to be vocal. I think it's time for them to stand up. Send those emails, make those phone calls. If you call me right now, my voicemail's full because I can't get them cleared out fast enough. Mm-hmm. But let your representation know how you feel about things, and then people will start acting accordingly. Now, to some degree, we know that the demographic listening to you right now is going to be a majority conservative, fairly pale skin. But they're not the only people. That's what we assume about your listenership. There are a lot of Democrats and African American Democrats who listen to you as well, mm-hmm. because it's the best place to get analysis on what's going on.
Well, thank you.
People can't just listen to the radio. They can't just get on Facebook and talk about stuff. If you have issues or questions about what's going on, take your voice to the people who are supposed to listen to you and be your voice.